he has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Today's breaking story from the Washington Post should concern each and every American, as if we don't have enough on our plates already.
The overall U.S. buildup that there is in the region is significant. We're seeing 10,000 plus troops deployed in Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, Cuba. There's a lot of naval ships, at least 12 U.S. naval ships, including different landing ships and support ships. We've seen B-52 bombers. We're seeing a build-up in a pattern, but that is all being billed as an exercise, as a training activity. That is, in many different wartime scenarios or conflict scenarios, running an exercise is a precursor to a real operation.
In a Washington Post report from just earlier this morning, well, it seems Top Gun Trump has now set his sights on Venezuela, as the Epstein dance of distraction continues in our nation's capital. And, the Venezuelans and the Colombians, they're not exactly kicking their heels up about today's news.
Colombia knows that we are one, Siamese brothers, and whatever happens with Colombia is with Venezuela, and whatever happens with Venezuela is with Colombia.
Well, it would also seem their Argentinian neighbors to the south certainly have reason to dance. That's because they just got a $40 billion bailout, while Trump's message to his fellow shutdown Americans is,
"You go hungry, bow, bow, bow."
So if provoking Venezuela seems misguided to you and something smells a little off with Trump's latest expulsion of intent,
War is very strange. You never know what's going to happen with war.
well, you are not alone. Rand Paul, who wasn't at all invited to this lovely lunch just yesterday at the Mar-a-Lago-inspired cement garden at the White House, he did have this to say recently, and that sets up our war drum-beating story from today's Washington Post.
Number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. It's supposed to be thoughtful. It's supposed to be debated. And we're not supposed to do it willy-nilly. And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence and convict them.
Okay, Jagger, and that takes us to our featured story from today's Washington Post. Trump beats the drums of war for direct action in Venezuela. By his own count, President Donald Trump has settled 8 wars from the Gaza Strip to Southeast Asia during his 9 months in office, but in a place much closer to home, he now seems determined to start one. With dozens of warships and planes and thousands of U.S. troops newly deployed to the Caribbean Sea, Trump has declared an armed conflict with the drug trafficking groups he has designated international terrorists. U.S. airstrikes have blown up at least 7 boats that Trump has charged were carrying drugs to the United States in international waters from Venezuela, in the process killing dozens of alleged traffickers. He has also signed a new finding or authorization document for CIA covert operations in Venezuela and charged the president, Nicolas Maduro, with being illegitimately elected and heading a narcotics cartel. I authorized it for 2 reasons, Trump said last week. Venezuela, he said, was the worst abuser of open border policies under the Biden administration, emptying its prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums of migrants to the United States. The other thing is drugs. We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela. Asked if he had authorized the CIA to take out Maduro, Trump said it would be a ridiculous question for me to answer, but I think Venezuela is feeling the heat. While Trump's precise instructions to the CIA are highly classified, 2 people familiar with the document he signed described it as authorizing aggressive agency action against the Venezuelan government and associated drug traffickers. The document does not explicitly order the CIA to overthrow Maduro, but it authorizes steps that could lead to that outcome, said the people familiar with it. It would certainly ratchet things up if they began doing strikes on land inside Venezuelan territory, especially if those strikes had a political purpose, said Tom Shannon, who served in several senior State Department positions, including Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs and Under Secretary for Political Affairs during the Obama administration, and for the first 5 months of Trump's first term. This is where I think the administration is going to get into some trouble. They are not being clear to the American people about what's going on here, Shannon said. If it's just drug trafficking, great, but they've got a way oversized force, and there is an intimidation message here that is only being articulated through acts and through the announcement of covert actions inside Venezuela. Admiral Alvin Halsey resigned just last week as the head of the U.S. Southern Command, less than a year into a 3-year appointment, something that Shannon and others attributed to his discomfort over the Caribbean operations. Critics have argued that the strikes are violations of U.S. and international law, and that the administration has not provided sufficient evidence or credible legal justification. Neither Halsey nor Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a reason for the admiral's departure, but you have to assume this is why he decided his career is over with, Shannon said. This is going to be my legacy, war crimes. Hey, Jagger, did you know that Venezuela sits on one of the largest reserves of oil in the whole wide world? Well, does that have anything to do with all of this? Please like, subscribe, and share. Make a comment. For me, I take the man at his word. Let's remember what he said not that long ago. Drill, Nino, drill.